Hey, everybody. Welcome to our seminar. My name is Seth. I'm the Director of Communication for the lens manufacturer Leitz Cine. And we're here to replicate one of my favorite shows, which is the Hot Ones YouTube series with some amazing DPs here. Show of hands, who has seen Hot Ones on YouTube before? Thank you for the lights. That was perfect. Yes. Awesome. All right. So you kind of know how it goes. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Seth Emmons. You're here watching Hot Takes. It's the seminar with hot questions and even hotter wings.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Thank you. How are you, my darling?
All right.
You're good.
Today, I'm joined by three illustrious cinematographers and some Camerimage veterans.
Illustrious.
To my left, Kate Reed, BSc. You can see Kate's work in Game of Thrones, Great Expectations, and the new episode of the Apple TV series Silo, which just started airing, right?
Yeah, the first step went out on the 15th, and mine are later in the series, the end.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Slay.
All right. To Kate's left is Jamie Ramsay, SASC.
Woo!
If you've been to the festival, you've probably seen Jamie's work in the past. He was nominated for his film All of Us Strangers was in competition last year.
Woo.
The year before, you got a bronze frog for Living. And then you also did Muffy, which was another project that was a particularly awesome one.
Thank you.
Yes. And last but not least, the guy whose all of his wings are last dabs is David Procter, BSc. David had a film here that screened Black Beauty not too long ago, a few years back.
Yeah.
Yep. You also had The Bypass, which was your cinematographer debut in 2014.
Yep.
And Netflix series The Innocents is another great place to see your work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
David Procter.
All right, so for those of you who haven't seen the show, what we're going to do is they're going to answer a series of questions. We are all four of us going to eat increasingly spicy chicken wings and veggie baseballs. By the look of these things, they're massive, but no pressure to finish any of it. We're going to get started with a little bit of what's going on right now for all of you. So before it gets to where you can't even promote yourselves, let's talk a little bit about some of your recent work, what you're working on currently, what's coming out soon, just a little bit of a rundown of where we can see some stuff in the future. David, you want to, well, actually, let's all take a bite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost forgot the most important part.
Here we go.
These are cold.
Yeah, I don't know what you're feeding the chickens in Turin, but that's a chicken wing, apparently. That is pretty big.
Do you have to eat the whole thing, or?
Well, no pride here. Oh, that does have a little spice. Okay.
That's number one?
That's number one.
All right. Oh, shit.
Okay.
I think that's okay.
All right.
There we
all
go.
right.
Maybe
All right.
I spoke too soon.
And no one is going to remember you said that by the end of it. David, you want to kick us off? What's going on recently for you?
I've been shooting commercials this year. I think it's been tricky and long form for many since the strikes and the aftermath of that. So I've been shooting short form globally. A lot of work in the Middle East and South Africa, across Europe. I'm about to start a film, a US studio film, shooting in Bosnia, which I start prep on in about 2 weeks. And that will take me through till May or June next year. So I'm very excited about that. It's a war film. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Nice. Jamie, what's going on with you?
Oh, where do I start? No, I had two films that came out this year. One is called Goodrich, shot in LA with the director Hallie, Maya Shai, which was with Michael Keaton. Super cool project, super cool people. The other one is William Tell, shot in Italy. It's a period sort of war thing, which was really cool. And then this year I shot a film called Pressure, which is also World War II. Yeah, we shot here, or shot in the UK, and wrapped about a week and a half ago, so I'm still recovering from that experience. I'll be okay.
This is a
I'll take any drinks that anyone wants to buy me later, tutus, no problem.
Kate, what's been going on with you? What's been keeping you busy?
I did a series in the summer called, well, not all of it, but part of it called What It Feels Like for a Girl. We were shooting in Wales for it was about 10 weeks I was on that. So that'll be out sometime in the new year. And my eps of Silo in the new year. And so I've just been grading, basically, the work on Silo. And I go back to London next week to finish the grade on What It Feels Like for a Girl.
Nice.
So, and hopefully there's a film that, fingers crossed, will go in the new year. But it's, you know, I don't know if you find that, but sometimes film funding can be quite fragile. So we'll see if it happens.
Is that also a war film? There's some
It's not.
trend here.
No.
Just the boys who do war.
All right, let's move on to wing number 2. That's your second one on the top left.
Glad we didn't get it wrong.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. It's got a little
It's less
fruity.
than the first one. Are you sure you got these in the right order?
Yeah, so I've watched some of the new season, and there's a few
I like that.
tricks throughout.
Uh-huh.
So this one's got a little pear mixed in, so you get a little bit of fruit, but then the ghost pepper sneaks in at the back end.
Very good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
I'm enjoying this one. I'm gonna finish this one maybe.
I mean, this is lunch, right? We're allowed to eat it.
yeah.
Nice. So I wanted to take this wing to talk a little bit about how you all got started in the industry. You know, first though, before we talk about the film industry, I want to know what everybody's first job was. Period. First job not in the film industry. Kate, what did you do?
Waitressing, quite traditional. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it like a chain restaurant, a small family restaurant?
Yeah, it was. No, it's at a golf club. I grew up on the west coast of Scotland, and there's a lot of golf places, and so it was like summer holidays going there.
Nice.
But then I think this is falling off. But actually, even as a camera trainee, I still had to do not there, but in London, doing waitressing work because I think there wasn't enough trainee work around in those days. So yeah, if anyone's in that situation, then it might be a necessary evil.
Yeah, just keep plugging along.
Exactly.
Jamie, what about you?
So my mum, God bless her, she got me a job at a local supermarket when I was like 15 or 16 years old to pack bags. Yeah, so that was my first job, packing bags. And I'll tell you a little mortifying anecdote really quickly. I had a crush on a girl at school, and I was packing bags, and her and her mom came to the supermarket, and they came through my till, and I basically died that day. It was a low point in my life, but anyway, at least it went up from there, right? You know?
Yeah. Did you get the girl?
No, I certainly did not. Anyway.
Did that have some transferable skills to working on set?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It keeps me humble,
Yeah, I would imagine when you see somebody not packing something quite appropriately.
Quite right, you know what I mean?
Got
Exactly,
something to say about it.
100%.
David, how early did you start working?
Well, I started working as a paperboy from the age of 13. I did that for 3 years, 7 days a week, which was
With or without bicycle?
with a bicycle.
Yep.
But then at the age of 16, I got a job in a gourmet restaurant in the town called Burger King, which taught me a lot about humans. And it was quite a humbling experience. That was while I was at college, trying to get to where I am now. The journey had begun. And they do not treat you very well when you work in a Burger King. And I'm not talking about the management, I'm talking about the customers. So it was quite an interesting journey for me. Yeah.
My first job was also fast food, and I think that is just an environment ripe for stories.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so much that happens in the service.
And look at us now, eating chicken.
Yeah, here we are.
Not roast beef or hamburgers.
Yeah.
So, Jamie, how did you get started in the film industry? Did you go to film school? Did you start out on set, or what was the path?
I went to film school in South Africa. I kind of didn't do particularly well in school at all. Didn't like school. Didn't like the system. I didn't really react too well at school. And then film school was like a light that turned on for me. Finally it was a language that I understood. And it was life-changing to finally engage with something that really lit you up. And I went to film school, and I assisted on a few sets during film school, but I quickly realized that I wasn't a very good assistant. I knew too much. So I decided that I was just going to shoot. So just from film school, just hustled during film school and had a few lucky breaks, and just pretended to be a DP until... I'm still pretending to be a DP, actually. Here I am eating chicken with you.
Kate, what about you? When did you first become interested in the film business?
I think probably when... I always just loved drawing and painting, and just did that incessantly. I didn't love reading, so that was kind of... And I thought I would go that route of, more traditional art. And then I sort of discovered Glasgow had a cool art house cinema, and I walked past one day and went in, and then was like, oh, that's really interesting. Because my parents weren't into film at all. And so that was, I suppose that's when I thought, I wonder if I can do this. But I thought I wanted to be a director, because, when you don't really know what the jobs are, and you just think there's a writer and a director, and somehow it all happens. So yeah, it was when I think the light bulb moment of knowing I wanted to be a DP was I was at the Edinburgh Film Festival. I went to a talk of the two DBs talking about their work, and I got very lucky that day. I didn't know who either of them were, but it was Seamus McGarvey and Darius Conji. So, and then I walked into the right room, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what a director of photography does. That's the thing that I want to do. And so for some reason, I thought I would just go after that, even though I didn't have any real sense if it was, something I'd have an aptitude for. But yeah, I went to film school later. I started off as basically from being a waitress. My parents were like, Kate wants to work in film all the time. And then someone was like, oh, there's a short film shooting in Glasgow. She can go and be a runner on it. And then I said, no, I want to be a trainee. And that was then, sorry, I think my earrings are causing this.
On the other side.
That's better. And so basically I went and hustled and was a camera trainee on that. And then bit by bit met some more people, and so I was an assistant and did some quite big movies as a second AC, and that was what paid to go to film school, and went to NFTS, and then started again on tiny little small stuff when I graduated, and it kind of went from there.
And NFTS is in Scotland?
Sorry, no, the National Film and Television School, which is in Beaconsfield outside of London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
David, where did you get your start?
I think a similar kind of story to this, and I didn't really realize, I didn't know what a cinematographer was, and I sort of discovered this concept of this career when I was at art college at Ravensbourne, when I was about 19. And that began that journey for me. And initially, again, I had that confusion of like, oh, I'm going to direct things, I want to make things, this is the way. And then I quickly realized I just knew nothing about working with actors, performance. It just wasn't something that was intuitive to me. Whereas the visual side was always something I found quite natural. So that began that pursuit. I went to a kind of film school university called the Hull School of Art and Design. It doesn't exist anymore, but it used to in the north of England. And then I did short courses. I moved to London. I didn't have any contacts in the industry. And my door in was documentary. So I realized that I had so much to learn about lighting and the craft of cinematography. And I didn't have that skill set. I didn't have that knowledge. So I started building connections with a rental house in London. I was going out as an assistant, which was terrible. There's quite a few stories there. And really it was documentary work that I was doing in the early days. And a film I shot in 2006 ended up doing quite well on the festival circuit. I was very lucky to get a nomination here, and it ended up being nominated for a BIFA in the UK, and I was just this, I knew nothing. But the phone started ringing to shoot more documentaries, so I found myself traveling across Africa and Europe on documentary projects. And doing so, I started realizing that I could travel to film festivals as much as I could afford to and meet directors. And I used the film festival circuit as a way to meet directors and sort of build those relationships, and the projects grew slowly. Yeah, I mean, really, it was a case of I'd jump on a Ryanair flight or an EasyJet flight. Most festivals will put you up if you say you'll come, if you've got something screening. And I'd go in place of directors regularly, and I started meeting directors, as many as I could. And the projects grew from there. You start doing smaller projects, short films, and building those relationships. All in the meantime, I was doing operating work in the UK, and I was getting on TV shows as an operator and whatever doc work I could. And the projects just organically grew. I moved into commercials, and I did my first film in 2013, which was Bypass, which I had here, which was wonderful. And it's kind of it's just a long road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Long, winding road.
Nice. Do you have any suggestions on how did you decide what projects you wanted to submit to festivals? Was it just spray as much as possible out there, or was it something where you felt like, I have a real connection to this means a lot to me, and that's the one I want to put forward? Is it a numbers game, or is it about just focusing on quality when you're submitting?
Well, I think ultimately with festivals and just filmmaking as a whole, it's ultimately completely subjective. So you never know what a selection team at a festival is looking for that year, what type of work they're looking for. And really, it's down to directors and producers to submit, but you can lean on them and try and get them to do that. And in the early days, I did that a lot. So if I'd done a short film that I was particularly happy with, I would really put pressure on the director and the producer to like send it here, send it here, send it here, anywhere that I could sort of get pressure on them to get out there. And you just start getting your name out there. You start getting your work seen. And this is before the days of social media like it is now. So really, you just go to a film festival with a pocket full of DVD show reels and a business card or a pack of business cards, and you just go around working the room. It was quite a different sort of environment then for getting your name out there. It's changed a lot. Yeah.
Jamie, were there any instances in your early career where you maybe missed an opportunity, or there was a mistake that you felt like you wish you could go back and maybe have that opportunity again? I mean, obviously you've gotten to where you are right now, so it didn't sidetrack you completely, but is there anything looking back that you're like, if I could have done that differently?
Shit, why did you give me that question? I think Kate should answer it.
I was going to ask her next.
To be honest with you, I think the whole thing of opportunity has always been this door that you run towards, you know, especially in the early days. You know, it's before I got to a point where I realized, okay, this is my language. This is what feels right to me. This is what I respond to. You know, I just looked at all opportunity and just gave everything. You know, and you never look back and be like, you know, I fucked that up, or I could have done better, because you do as well as you can do in the moment. You know, for the cinematographers out there, you know that you're a problem-solving device is what you really are, you know, and you solve problems as best you know in the moment. And you know, 10 years down the line, you can solve those problems better. But at the time, you solve them as you know them. You know, and you there's a lot of pretending as a DOP. You know, you never let them know that you don't know what to do, because you know you don't want to sow the seeds of doubt. But you do your best. You always do your best. So I will never look back and think, I regret those decisions or whatever. But if I can sew in something to Dave's question about,
sure,
you know, the choosing of things for panels, and I think it's greater than that. I think it's you choose things that truly respond to you, and then you leave the rest to the universe. You know, because panels, people, trends, times, it all changes, but your choices have to resonate with you in your heart, and it has to feel right to you, and it has to wake something up inside yourself. And if it doesn't do that, then the rest will never come. But if you treat yourself and the decisions, which is my question, then you know, it'll be okay in the end. We'll eat chicken together.
Kate, was there any let's say, it was a great answer, Jamie, so I'm glad I asked you.
Thank you.
Any of those kind of learning experiences, to Jamie's point, along your path where you're like, that has taught me so much for what I do now, or I did that, in this way I did it, I would never do it again because I've learned how to do it.
Well, I think you probably learn the most from your mistakes, you know, because when you have a good day on set and it all goes smoothly, you just don't think anything of it. But if there's a big fuck up, then you're always like, you know, then you have to kind of work out, okay, what led to that chain of events, and let's not have that happen again. And so I think that you're you know, those tough lessons are the ones that, you know, are the best lessons. They're the hard lessons. And I think probably when you start out, I think you're right. You got to choose the projects that resonate with you because they allow you to show your voice, and that's what you uniquely bring to any project. And I think that there's like, especially when you start out, you don't have, you know, like everyone knocking on your door. You know, you're just trying to do the best with whatever you get offered to do. And I think that you'll always learn from, like, alongside doing shorts, which I did loads of shorts before getting to do like small features or TV, and I was also doing like corporate stuff as well. And you know, just shooting so many faces teaches you how to light a face very well, especially because on corporate videos it's not like you've got actors that have perfectly chiseled, you know, bone structure and perfect skin, so they're you know, arguably trickier to light. So I think if you can treat every opportunity you get to work as an opportunity to, you know, grow and learn and improve what you do. But I think probably the biggest part of, well, maybe you disagree, but the biggest part of being a DP is often just about how you communicate with people. And aside from being very good at your skills and all the craft aspect and making good creative choices, there's just this huge part of working well with people. And when you know, when something hasn't worked, it's usually failed on a human level somewhere along the line.
Yeah,
so that's the, you know, that's the thing that I think.
Careful around the eyes.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Don't need them. Yeah.
Awesome.
Paranoid.
All right, with that, let's move on to wing number 3.
All right.
That was very saucy. Wow.
Yeah.
Not bad though.
It's tasty.
Yeah.
I quite like
Still number one's worse than this one.
Yeah, I agree. They were definitely lulling us into a sense of
sense of security.
Exactly. So for this wing, what I wanted to talk about a bit was mentoring. There's been a lot of promotion of mentoring in the industry in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, but the industry itself has had a tradition of that going back a century. So what I wanted to talk about is from both sides of it, both as a mentee and as a mentor. So just kind of going down the line here, Kate, did you have any mentors when you were coming up?
No, I didn't really, but I really do advocate for mentorship. And I think probably it was actually after leaving film school where I'd been taught by some brilliant teachers that had then said, hey, look, if, you know, in the future, if you want to ask questions, although you've left film school, you know, we're still here. So I feel like there was a number of amazing DPs who are very generous with, in those first kind of couple of years after you leave film school, and there's some weird lighting setup that you've never seen, and you think, how do I do this? So they were kind of available. So I do feel I still had that industry support, even though it wasn't a sort of official sort of mentoring capacity. But I think, I mean, right now I'm mentoring a couple of female DPs, and it's great to be able to, I mean, I think probably mid-career, I enjoy that area of mentoring because I feel like the DP's already got quite a lot of experience and I can be more specific in how I help them. But yeah, chime in with your thoughts.
Jamie, was there anyone that was kind of in that role for you when you were coming up? That was someone that you would call with questions or reach out to when things got a little tricky?
You know what? So I grew up in South Africa in that system, and the mentorship thing wasn't really a thing in South Africa. I don't know why it wasn't, but maybe because the industry, you know, wasn't at a level where it was applicable. You know, but I did have the opportunity of being on set, you know, with other older DPs, you know, operating or something like that, and it's actually something that I always declined. And I'll tell you the reason why. And I don't know if it's, in hindsight, I don't know if it was the right decision, but I think it was. And the reason why I didn't want to do it is because I wanted my style to be born completely out of darkness, right? You know, I never wanted my choices to be influenced by something that I had learned firsthand from somebody else. And this is just the stubborn side to my nature, I guess. But you know, so everything I ever did, and it's imperfect for sure. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that the way I do things is the way it should be done, but it's the way I've learned to do it. But that was just a decision I made. I never wanted to be influenced about the way another DP led something. I never wanted to be influenced by the way a DP told that story. I really wanted it just to be born out of my own failures, as you said earlier, you know. And but now where I'm sitting now, obviously we're in a position now where we can offer something to the younger generation of DPs coming up, and I find the process of that so rewarding, because the moment that you say something out loud that's been sitting inside your mind for so long, and you're like, oh, actually, this exists within me, then you've actually banked it in a vault. You know, it's there, and you've thought about it, and it's become something. So the process of teaching and the process of mentoring actually has been super rewarding in that sense to me. And you know, last night we had a really interesting discussion about mentorship and what it means and what it should be. And I don't know if you want to bring that up as a.
I am going to go there.
Are you going to go there? Okay. Well, I'll wait for you to go there.
Yeah. We'll give David a chance to chime in. Was there anybody there for you when you were coming up that was answering those kind of
There was
questions?
actually a Camerimage in 2009. I met filmmaking, BSc, and I was very lucky. I eventually got the courage up through the festival, talking to him at different events, and I was just like, "Hey, would you be my mentor?" And he was like,
You asked him straight away.
straight up. I just like had down to Mad Dog, straight over there. Would you be my mentor? And he's like, of course. What does that mean? And I was like, oh,
Daddy.
I don't really know what that means actually. I just know it's a thing that people do. And I'm there and I'm on the spot and I'm like, okay, what does it mean? I was like, maybe I could contact you if I have queries about things I'm doing on projects, or I could maybe we could go for lunch in London, and it's on me, and I can quiz you and ask you questions about your career and what we're doing. And he was like, well, that sounds like a great deal. Yes, absolutely. And so that began that relationship. And I think that was really, it was a very sort of hands-off sort of, we met like a couple of times a year. And I was never on set with him. But it was someone that, as I grew into bigger projects, bigger commercial projects, which was initially where I think my origins came through commercials really after documentary. And as projects grew, and you're like, well, I think I need like 6 Arimaxes for this location to do what's needed. And it would be like, God, I can't ask production for 6 Arimaxes, and I'd be able to call him and say, look, this is the location, this is what I want to do, this is what's needed. And he'd just be like, yeah, that's exactly what you need. You can't use 12, 6s won't be, you're doing the right thing. And I'd have that backing to then go back to production without them ever knowing that conversation on the sidebar had ever happened. And just I had that confidence to be like, yeah, this was the right way to do it. And it was a real asset to me. So I've been actively mentoring for a number of years now, and I think it's been a great. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy sharing what knowledge we do have, if I can help anyone in any way, really. Because I think it's just sharing knowledge and supporting people coming through. It's so important, and it's such a unique job that we do. We all have our own routes and paths to where we get to, and our own techniques and ways of doing things. And I think it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting being challenged, because I find that this is a generational thing. I may be going off piste here. That happens. Sorry.
Is the music?
Yeah, here we go. I find there's a generational thing where there's an obsession with some younger generations coming through of how to do things. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And actually, I think that the real question is why. why did you do it this way? What led you to these choices? Why? And why is where the value is. And I find like just having these conversations is really valuable to us as mentors as well. Because sometimes you're questioned on your work of why you've done something in a particular way. And sometimes it's something intuitive and instinctive that you hadn't really thought about the context of why. You just do things intuitively, and then you're questioned about it, and you're like, oh, I'm going to have to come up with an answer here. I'm going to have to post-intellectualize this now. And it's quite healthy to do that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and Jamie, to your point, we were talking about this, and most cinematographers that I talk to are very happy to support the generations coming up, whether they're earlier in their career or mid-career. Definitely people have different strengths when it comes to that. But one thing that always comes up in that conversation is the difficulty between the expectation of the mentee and the way that that initial interaction begins. So, Kate, I wanted to ask you a little bit about what you think mentees looking for a mentor should know and expect going into that relationship.
Well, in my experience, it's been useful to have a sort of beginning and end point, to sort of say like this is over like a year, and we'll have an hour kind of catch up every month potentially. Like some kind of structure is helpful, I think. And obviously everyone's busy, so that can be flexible. But I think it's about being available to that person to help give them advice, or if they're talking about a script, you can help prompt them on, okay, well, what do you feel there, and how do you think that might be the best way to show it? But yeah, the couple of people that I'm involved with mentoring at the moment are sort of at the point where they've done sort of small music videos and commercials, and they're wanting to break into longer form drama. And so it's been really satisfying because it feels like I can give them practical, tangible advice about how they do that. And then actually, since we've started mentoring, just nothing to do with me, she got a cool break, and she's doing like this television series at the moment, and then was phoning up about the politics of this new television series. So sometimes it's nothing to do with the craft side of it. It's just giving like contextual advice. But yes, I think having a sort of an expectation that you're not providing a job for that, for that mentee, that you'll try and get them onto set where it's appropriate and possible, or in a
set with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I've had it where someone shadowed me for a few days, and usually I'll say beforehand, like, if you can just watch and observe, and don't ask me questions when I'm lighting, because it's off-putting. And then at the end of the day, or maybe like another, once the shoot's over, I can just catch up. And also I think if it's really good just to observe if you're on someone else's set, because there's a real expectation if you're wanting to be keen and be like, ask every 2 seconds about a question, when actually, if you just sit back and watch what's happening, you'll probably be able to work out why they're doing that. And that's hopefully more satisfying for the mentee, because they go, oh, of course, that's why, and I could have thought of that. So, yeah, sometimes mentees have joined me on set, and next week, actually, one of the mentees is coming into the grade, because we've got quite a lot of VFX in that particular episode. So I sort of said, look, if you want to come along, then you're very welcome to sit and watch and sort of hear those conversations.
That's cool.
So it's sort of, I think, but I do think it's great if a few years ago, because of COVID, it was a bit hard, because all the studios were a bit like, no, we can't, it's a liability, but that sort of seems to have passed and chilled out. So I feel like now it's easier, and most productions want to help, like, educate and support the next kind of generation. So I've been on productions that have been supportive and allowed, people to come and be on set. They have to sign, obviously, a bunch of documents beforehand.
It's worth it, though.
Yeah, hopefully.
Jamie, in this age of so much social media and availability, how do people reach out to you, and what would you say to someone looking to find a mentor as far as what may be a good channel for doing that and how to approach it?
Sure. So, I mean, I think mostly, my email address is available off my Instagram. So, but
I was going to put your cell phone up later too.
Uh-oh. What was I going to say? Yeah, no. So I get on Instagram. I get a lot of messages regarding this topic, and this is something that we spoke about last night that was interesting, because I would say 90% of the requests are, can I operate for you? Can I come and assist you on set? And I think what's important for people to realize is that when you're doing a film or a series or whatever, we're under the guide of what production can afford and what you're allowed to have. And we have to surround ourselves by a skill set of people that'll support us at any point in the shoot, right? So it's very difficult for us to pick somebody that we don't know and say, okay, I'm going to put you in this role, in a key role in my camera department, because you've reached out to me in that sense. And this is the definitive thing about the mentorship thing, is that it shouldn't be seen as a road to getting work immediately, right? It's a longer journey than that, and it's a completely different thing. So for me, the mentorship thing is about shadowing. You know, it's about discussing. It's about being a soundboard for, you know, like you said, the politics of things. And if you take away, like if somebody said to me, you know, I just want to be around you and say, I just want to talk to you. For me, that is a much softer thing to accept into my realm than trying to find a place for somebody to operate for me that maybe has maybe come out of film school, never operated on a film. Like there's so much trust that's involved in putting someone in that position. So, you know, if I would say, if there's any information that could come from this that would be useful, is just change the perception of what that relationship looks like. And you know, obviously there's a number of people that I have this relationship with now. It's passive, you know, and it's you know, it's much less about getting the work and being on set, and it's a bigger thing than that.
Or like being a sponge, just a softer experience.
Well, a sponge, and you know, and it's more familial in a sense, you know. It's somebody that's actually allowed into a much more hallowed space than a crew member, you know, because you know, the osmotic process of giving your knowledge is a very intimate thing. You know, it's an intimate thing. It's something that you've learned from hours and hours and hours of toiling, you know, and pain and happiness and all sorts of things. And then when you're giving that knowledge over, it's a very intimate, very private thing. So there's trust involved, and there's you know, there's an unspoken deal involved, you know, and if it's going to be true, yeah, you know. So it's not just a handshake and a tequila at the bar, you know. Well, it could be. If anyone wants to buy me tequila later.
David, what's the structure and kind of system of your mentoring, or what have you done in the past?
I mean, it's quite. I tend to work a huge amount abroad. So all of my mentees at the moment, I have 3. They're all London-based. So my time with them is quite difficult. Like, I'm always away. So we meet for coffees. We might do a Zoom call monthly. Sometimes we break down a piece of work that I've done recently, and I'll share behind the scenes and talk about how we ended up using the equipment that we did, and it becomes quite technical. But I think, touching on what Jamie said, is that one of the things that it's very difficult to teach is the politics of what we do as cinematographers, the way that we have to communicate with exec producers and studios and record labels and agencies and clients on commercials. And the politics and the way we communicate is something that you just kind of slowly learn over the years. Also, the managerial role as a cinematographer, where you go from having small crews to, you know, 7 camera, 8 camera shoots with you know, enormous rigging and lighting teams, and you know, these are things that I find often my mentees are most interested in, that side of things. You can share technical information about what lens does what and why you've used particular tools for achieving certain shots. But actually, like, when you dig into it, like, it's when you start sharing how you've navigated very difficult political situations, which I think is where you can really impart, like, you know, real knowledge. And again, where that trust comes in, because you do end up telling stories that you wouldn't necessarily want to share about how you've navigated those scenarios. But like, yeah, I think your original question was more about approaching people, or?
We're going all over the place, so.
Yeah, we're just.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to.
I'm permanently off-piste over here. Yeah. Well, what I would say is, I think all of us sat here probably get approached like multiple times a week through social media, through Instagram and emails. And I think what's really important is if anyone in here is wanting to reach out to people, is just to make it personalized. It's very obvious when you've got a copy-paste scenario in your inbox, and you spot those a mile off. And really, we're busy. We're shooting films, we're shooting commercials, whatever we're doing. We're busy. We're very busy. We're also trying to balance extremely long hours of production life with having families and relationships and hobbies and trying to live. And if you get something in your inbox that's just a copy paste, it's, you know, you're not really inclined to give that too much time. I think when someone's written to you and they know your work and they're interested in the things that you've done and they're actually reaching out to you specifically because they connect with what you do. We're all different as artists. We all have different sensibilities and styles and approaches. If someone's reaching out and they really connect with the way that you work, you're much more likely to respond and actually communicate. You might just say, look, I'm really sorry, I'm mentoring 3 people right now, I can't help you, but please hit me up in 6 months, or, you know, keep reaching out again.
And I'd just say, like, now, because when we were starting out, there wasn't all the DP WhatsApp groups, and, you know, there's such a community within, you know, this is a community, and so it's not, I don't think it's quite as it used to be that you maybe needed a mentor in that way to try and learn things that you couldn't learn from your peer group, because now I think there's so much sharing in a really great way, you know, through, I'm a member, like in the UK, there's certainly several groups of WhatsApp, you know, DP groups where people will...
Are there? Why haven't you told me about it?
Top secret.
You know, where people will share, like, if they've got questions about what size lamp can do this kind of throw, you know, at night time, or, you know, like that kind of really practical stuff. There's, so I feel like it doesn't just need to be a one-on-one, you know, like just reach out to your communities, and it's a good source.
Great service.
Love it. It's amazing service.
Yeah, a little round of applause for our team that put together all of this.
Is this still your first beer?
My first one.
Another beer, please. Immediately.
Yeah, saucing 40 wings right before a seminar is a lot of work. Thank you. Let's move on to number 4, which is going to be...
I'm excited.
Bravo
there.
for her. Come on, Kate, catch up. Oh, shit.
It's okay.
No,
Yeah, this is the Los Calientes Verde. This is the one we make. No.
What have you got over there? Are they just balls of bread?
They're spinach and lentil,
Wow.
and a bit of tomato.
That looks
I'm
dense.
glad I'm sitting over here.
I think you'd actually, I think you would like this one.
Okay.
Yeah, you can try this last one.
I'm going to stick with these ostrich wings over here.
For Wing 4, I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, Kate, you segued perfectly with the WhatsApp groups. You know, obviously, cinematography societies have been around for a long time. The ASC celebrated its 100-year anniversary a few years ago. BSC this year is celebrating 75 years of cinematic splendor, which our friends at the British Cinematographer magazine quoted, which I really like that. Cinematographic splendor, yeah. Oh. And SASC is 70 years old.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah.
So obviously these have been around for a while, but now we're seeing the rise of other ways of community coming together with either formalized groups like Illuminatrix or, you know, informalized like WhatsApp groups. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you all what you thought maybe the modern role of the formal societies are, and how these other maybe community-based societies can complement them and what they can bring to fill in the gaps. Does anybody want to take that one first?
Yeah, well, I mean, Illuminatrix, I've been in it since it began, and it's I mean, if anyone doesn't know, it's a group of collective in the UK of female UK-based cinematographers. This hasn't been rehearsed.
It's going to get harder, don't worry.
And like when it was formed, the whole point of it was that people were going, oh, I don't know where the women, you know, DPs are, and it was about visibility for female cinematographers and having a platform. You know, there's a website with links to everyone's work. So it was kind of two-pronged purpose. One was about raising the profile of female DPs in the UK, and also about community within our group so that we can support each other. Because previous to that, it felt like there was a certain degree of, there wasn't enough work for like female, you know, DPs, that women only got a certain type of work and there wasn't enough, and therefore women were slightly pitted against one another rather than being allies. And so Illuminatrix, I think in the UK has been brilliant, and is also, that idea has travelled, you know, around the world with other female collectives of DPs. So for me, I think it just sits, you know, wonderfully. Like it doesn't, you know, like the BSC is a totally separate thing. It's more grassroots and it's nurturing talent and providing a platform. So that I feel they can perfectly go hand in hand because they're different identities.
David, do you want to jump in on that topic at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think the societies are an amazing place for pushing forward education, pushing forwards. With the BSc, you've got the BSc Club where people can sort of get access to events, to meet BSc members, and there's screenings with Q&As. And again, it's just again this idea of sharing knowledge and making opening up. Seeing behind the curtain, I suppose, in a sense of increasing people's access to members of the BSc, and I think that's all of the different groups internationally do that. I think it's about education and yeah.
Nice, Jamie. We were talking last night. We were talking a bit about how these societies are the more formalized societies have kind of a leadership role when it comes to, or leadership ability when it comes to pushing in different directions or education. Have you, with the South African Society, are there any initiatives with them that come to mind when we're thinking about what can be done to help kind of the broader cinematography community?
I think that what they have done in the last, I think probably 7 to 10 years, is consciously sort of change the shape of what their society was. Because traditionally it was quite a paternal environment, and unhealthily so. And I think there was a conscious effort to change that, and for two reasons. I think they realized that if they didn't adapt and start to embrace the new wave of cinematographers, then they would themselves die. So it was a part survival, in a sense. But in doing so, they went through the process of opening things up and embracing the new wave of people. Just in terms of specific things, not really. I think the society in South Africa is probably fairly quiet, in comparison to, let's say, the BSc or the ASC. But at least the steps are in the right direction, I think. And if I look at the new roster of the last 5 years, it's diametrically opposite to what it was for the rest of their life, generally. So they're in the right direction. Yes, that's the end of my answer.
Do any of you have any thoughts on the idea that ASC Awards, BSc Awards, being that there are not so many venues that target cinematography specifically, that serves a value to the community of maybe creating an idea of a quality level of work that can be spread more broadly?
I don't quite understand your question.
That's fair.
Can you rephrase it?
Well, the Oscars have one award for cinematography.
Yeah.
Right? The BAFTAs maybe have a couple.
Yeah.
With Society Awards, it's all about cinematography, just like it is here at this festival. So you get to recognize short form and long form television. You get to recognize all these different categories that are overlooked in other ways.
Yeah.
And maybe it's more about awards in general, the value of that for the cinematography community.
I mean,
Makes everyone feel good about themselves.
Maybe this is a contentious response, but are those awards really about cinematography? Question mark. Are they? I don't know. Because if you look at the films that are up in those awards, they're the same films that are up for the Oscars or for the BAFTAs. I mean, maybe it's different Menaki and Camerimage, maybe it's slightly different roster, but ASC, BSc seems to me like it's fairly...
For feature films, it definitely tracks pretty closely. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of other opportunities for maybe episodic television or things like that comparatively that can raise that among your peers. Or maybe there is.
I think, though, that probably the value in the awards is maybe earlier on, like a lot of the short film competitions, and the BSc does do for the student club, there's 2 categories for the shorts. I think one's student and one's BSc club members. And I think that's a great exposure for people that have not, I mean, it's very competitive to get your short in there now, because it gives, younger DPs at the sort of earlier stage of their career a platform for their work to be seen, which is fantastic. So I think that can have value for being a springboard for people. But as you say, like often in the bigger, when it gets into the kind of politics of the Oscars or what have you, it's arguable whether it's always the most interesting cinematography that's, being recognised.
Or commercially acceptable instead.
Yeah. Or it's the thing that people have heard of often.
Yeah. Tell me something. I don't know the answer to this. BSc Awards, ASC Awards, are those for only BSc members and ASC members?
No.
It's open to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You
That's
were
good.
nominated for an ASC award.
I was, yeah, which is cool. Yeah. I mean, I think the ASC has a bigger award. Like they've got, like 1 hour. I don't know how it splits down now, but it's more extensive. And the BSc this year has just introduced, I think, 2 categories for television, which previously there was only 1. So it's kind of recognizing that if you're on a streaming show, that you probably have a bit more money available to you, versus if you're doing something for like broadcast television, like BBC One or BBC Two. So it's trying to kind of just recognise that since so many DPs in the UK are working in television, that there's celebrating work that wouldn't necessarily otherwise be seen next to The Crown. So.
Yeah. I think BSc Awards have also added music video category.
They have, yeah, they have.
So did the ASC recently too.
Yeah, which is great.
Opens it up to a category of work that would be excluded from all the other.
It's just about celebrating cinematography, which I think anything that does that is great.
Yeah,
really.
that is good.
Celebrating the art form.
Nice. Let's move on to number 5.
We're not knowing the names of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's very mysterious.
So number 5 is Dawson's Hot Sauce. It's so the Scovilles have been 1,800, 6,900, 17,000, 36,000, and this is 52,000. So we are ramping up a little slowly.
Right.
Yeah.
I only learned what a Scoville was last night.
Pain.
A logarithmic
Scoville
scale of pain.
equals pain.
All right. So for this wing, I wanted to talk about that leadership role that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier on set, and how you, as the DP, as the department head, create a team mentality and an atmosphere on set that keeps everybody working together. Sorry. Yeah, it's getting into my throat now.
52,000, yeah?
Yeah, we're going way higher. So it's set's a notoriously stressful place. Long hours, fast work, precision required. So what do you all do to, let's say, starting when you have a new crew, a new project, especially, like David, you've traveled a lot, you work with a lot of new crews. Is there anything that you do to try and bring the crew together early on to try and create a sense of being a homogenous group together?
I mean, yeah, I do travel a lot because of my work in short form. I'm covering a lot of territories, and I think I was asked recently, and I've shot in 45 countries now, and you're just working with new people. It used to be quite common that we would travel with a gaffer, a first AC, and as the industries develop globally, that's becoming more and more rare to do so. So I'm very often working with new collaborators on project where I'm alone. I might be with a new director, a new producer, and not a single member of crew I know. And I think one of the things I like to do is we're always learning with what we do. Everyone has different ways of doing things and achieving things. And I always like to hear from my team, and I always like to instill this concept of, let's make this collaborative. And you very quickly realize if that's not going to work. You might have a weak link on your team, but I go in with that from the outset. That idea of let's be collaborative. I might be working with a gaffer with much more, might have 10, 15, 20 years more experience than I do. Like, let's talk about how we're going to do things, and I'm going to be specific about what I want to achieve, and I can tell you exact lamps, exact textiles, exact sizes. I can micromanage every detail if I need to, but I don't want to do that. Let's make this collaborative. Like, tell me how you'd like to approach things. Let's get there together. And I think that hopefully then instills this idea of collaboration with your team, and you really, that's where I think the best work happens.
And I'm just going to say, off of that, I think also acknowledging your team, allowing them to bring their stuff to the party is so important. Because if everyone feels engaged and that they're contributing to what we're all making, then it's more fun, first of all. But it's that I think makes a happy team, because you feel like you're not just showing up and being told what to do, and ultimately that makes your if you've got a good team around you, that makes your own life easier, because you employ people that you trust, or you're taking recommendations, and you allow them to be super at what they do, which obviously supports you. What was the other part to your question? You're saying like
it was about building that crew, that team mentality, that family mentality, and what things you can do on set to foster that.
But I mean, if people feel happy at work, then they want to be there, don't they? And I think if you treat people well and are respectful and kind, and I guess if you're coming to set with a good energy every day that allows other people to also engage and contribute, then hopefully it's somewhere that people want to be, so that they're enjoying it. And you can all, when you pull off a complicated shot, everyone's like, yeah, and that's nice to kind of build that. Yeah.
Does it help to bring in some oatcakes for everybody and share with the crew?
You read about the oatcakes. I think mostly, I do eat a lot of oatcakes. It's a Scottish thing, and no one has ever thanked me for it when I've said, hey, these are great. So. And I think hugs, actually, genuinely. I found when I don't know if you found this during COVID, but it was very strange being on set all the time when you couldn't read as easily people's responses. And I think because we do work so closely together, that if suddenly there was someone trying to always say, hey, maintain a 2-meter distance, and because you're so used to just being able to, so say thanks, or a lot of my crew I do hug in the morning, because you're getting up in the morning, you're not seeing your loved ones, and everyone goes to set and you're there for 10 or 12 hours. And so I feel like if people are huggers, then I'm down for hugs. Obviously, if they, I've got some crew don't want it, and that's fine. I'm not going to force
quickly.
But yeah, I think just having a kind of nice, warm energy that people, enjoy being in.
Nice. Jamie, how do you balance that? What kind of playing off what David was saying of like giving people an opportunity to feel like they're contributing, but also making sure that it matches with what your vision is for the work?
Where I'd start is I'd just say that the formulation of the family, is actually for me one of the most important phases in pre-production. Yes, you've got your regulars that you maybe are lucky enough to have on your team, but we all have that phase of interviewing new people, and for me, skill it has to be there. It's a foregone conclusion, right? But it's that connection that you have with people, and then when you formulate this family in those meetings, you do take a chance. But those meetings for me are always less about discussing technical stuff in the film, but more about just getting a feel for the person and just like understanding what kind of human being they are, and where their morals are, or just little things like that. Because I worked it out beginning of this year. As a prevalent filmmaker, you're spending 33% of your waking life on set in your lifetime. 33%. That's a fucking lot of time. Now, the family that you choose to have with you on set, that's important. That's time. Yeah, that's important time. So the people that you have with you, the choice of those people and the relationships that you have, it's super important. And we all know that a film set, it's like it's a pressure device. It creates a diamond, and it forms relationships so quickly, and it forms bonds so quickly, and it has to work. Because for me, if my backup system is right, then I can channel creativity freely. I feel safe and I'm in an environment where I don't feel judged, or I don't feel like I'm on the back foot. And it's the people around you that give that to you. And you create this family, and there's so much trust involved. And the people, every single film you do, at least that I've done, you walk away and you're enriched by the people that you've had around you, and hopefully they're enriched too by it. And I really think that the best work I've done is because of the relationships that I've had around me, and just being able to, you as a DP, you're the head of that pyramid. And every day you got to walk on set, no matter how you're feeling and how tired you are and how fucked off you are with the director. You got to walk on there and be like, family, let's have a fucking good day, right? And bring that love, right? And then some days you walk on set and you've had like 2.5 hours sleep because of the shit lighting you did the night before, and you're like, the whole night you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? And then anyway, you rock up on set, and then your family feeds back to you. And you're like, this is what it was. It's an emotional investment, and they're giving back to me now, and today's going to be a good day,
Nice.
Yeah. I think setting the tone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think often, I think often it's the DP and the director and the first, that really important trilogy, that can really dictate the feel of a set. So, as well as making it a priority that your team that you hire are, fantastic and you can all get on and do your jobs well. I think the investment, if you're on a long job and you've got prep, with making sure that that the AD and you that you're including them in your decisions and your thought process, so that as much as possible you can work together, and there's not any surprises from either side. If you suddenly see a schedule that has got a sort of a dawn shot at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, that sort of thing, where you kind of need your AD to be a close friend and ally in helping, achieve what we're all trying to achieve. But I think it's the immediate family of the crew that you hire, and then just being available and communicative and as helpful as you can to everyone else, because they're all stressed. It's so easy just to think about our job and forget that everyone is also under that pressure. So I think if you can kind of be able to keep that bigger picture in mind while you do your job, the concerns of what the producer's dealing with, the AD, the director, then it just helps you be better at, making it all happen smoothly. And then getting ultimately, what you're after from the picture.
Ideally.
Let's move on to wing number 6.
Can I also just say that last wing was the only time I've been scared today.
It's still with me too.
Yeah,
that last one was
real.
real. Right,
Definitely
right. Let's do another one.
Yeah. I feel like we're in the deep end now.
Yeah, bottom
row,
except for Jamie.
Yeah.
On the left, yeah.
Yeah, on the left. Don't go to the right. This one's a Scotch bonnet pepper. Like a Jamaican jerk flavor.
Fantastic.
very nice.
A lot of like, cinnamon.
I mean, it tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to risk another bite though.
So for this wing, I wanted to talk about a topic that when we went to the Menaki Festival a few months back, we did some interviews with DPs there, and I put in a couple questions about work-life balance. And
What's that?
so, funny enough, every male DP over, say, 55 just had a blank look on their face. Like, what does that word even mean?
They've lost the battle.
Yes. Whereas every female DP and most younger DPs were extremely familiar with what that term means. And I think that as our culture has embraced the idea of a work-life balance, that is something that is being talked about a little bit more in film circles as well. And so I wanted to talk to each of you about that. When you're done with a long job and you come back, what do you do to kind of reset yourself? What are some things you do outside of film that help lift you up, help fill that cup of energy, strength, creativity, optimism?
I think the week after, if you finish a long job, then it's like you have a real adrenaline crash, because you've just been on this journey for months and months, and I know that's like the post shoot blues, and I think just acknowledging that, my family know that I can, if I just feel like crying, that's a good chance that that'll happen in that week, and it's almost like there's a sadness because all the people that you've been working so closely with, suddenly you're not seeing them every day, and you're just in this strange space where you're not having to answer loads of emails or questions every second, and so
nobody's making you coffee anymore, which sucks.
But usually, if I'm in good health, like if I can, I'll just jump on a plane and go somewhere warm and lie on a beach, and that's how then I can, not avoid the getting ill thing that often happens, when you relax.
The crash. Yeah.
I think if you're on a warm beach, there's less tendency to do that. But I also find, I don't know about if you find this, but I find it hard when I'm on a job to be reading projects because you're so in that space that then if you're asked to go and read something on a weekend and maybe prep a mood board, it feels like I don't even have time to do this job. And so I think that often I end up having a bit of I need to just finish, take stock, and kind of feel what was good about the thing I just did, what worked, what didn't. And then I can be in a space to kind of go, okay, now what might be next? So, and going into nature, that's my go-to.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was lucky enough to come to Camerimage straight after my film. It's a perfect come down. There you go.
It's nice. Yeah, I mean, personally, when I'm on any project, I really have blinkers on. I really, everything else in my life takes a sideline, and that's challenging. It's the hours we do on set, as all DPs in this room know, are part of what you really are doing. You've got sides to read. You're watching dailies. You're re-scouting locations. Because scenes have changed. You're scouting new locations because locations have been lost mid-shoot. You've got fire safety meetings, stunt safety meetings. All this stuff happens outside your hours for a day, and you quickly find yourself doing 14-hour days. Your Saturday is recovery, and then Sunday you're sort of starting to think about the Monday ahead. So it's difficult. You finish a job, and you get this crash. You get this kind of adrenaline crash. You've got this family vibe you've had with your team that you don't see them anymore. You don't know where to have breakfast because there's no call sheet telling you where it is. You don't know where to go. What am I going to do today? And I think there's this kind of leveling, and I do the same as Kate. I like to go away somewhere, away from everything, put my phone on the side and just recover. And I must say, even on short form, even on like more difficult commercials, it's are you starting to sweat there, Seth? I can see a bit of sweat coming through there.
My mouth is
some
really
deep
hot
breaths
right
going on, yeah. And I certainly, I think it's the same. Commercials are obviously short, but it's more like a sprint. You're exhausted after a sprint, much like you're exhausted after a marathon. And I think when I finish commercials, my fiancée Bee's out here somewhere. She knows that when I finish a job, I'm a shell. I'm kind of staring into the abyss, 1,000-yard stare for a couple of days while I just sort of defrost from the job.
Learn how to be a human being.
Yeah, and learn how to engage and speak and do hobbies and other things.
Yeah,
all the things we love.
I think the other things is really important because there's such a tendency for work to be everything in this job because you love it and you'll just do it until you're happy that it's that you'll work and work until you feel like, okay, I'm prepared, I'm organised, this is what we need. And it's, I think that's okay for periods, but I think you really need to address that balance. At least that's what I've come to in the times in between. And I think having things that are not work are really key because it just gives you perspective. Like when I was at film school, I was flat sharing, and one of my old friends, she is, she works in immigration law, and I'd come back from film school and be like, oh my God, like that was an awful day, the gaffer didn't do da-da-da. And she would be like, oh, my client's being deported, and you're like, yes, okay. That perspective is just so important because we are, we're doing a job that we're so lucky to do, that it's creative, it's fun, and but when you talk to people outside of the, in the real world, that are doing jobs where they're literally, saving people's lives, and you think, okay, maybe that was the wrong gel on that lamp, but the 216 didn't kill the day.
Okay.
So I think that it's always really good to have that perspective, and I think having things that. I don't know if we're going to talk about climbing, but David climbs and I climb, and the reason I love climbing is it's just you can't, when you're climbing, you can't think of anything else because you will fall, and that is just so it's a great thing if you're like on a Saturday to go climbing if I've got the energy, and a lot of camera crew climb, I've noticed in the UK.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Just as a as a thing that will mean that you're not thinking for 2 or 3 hours about any email.
That's a great point.
And that's pathetic that only 2 or 3 hours is, you know,
Is a
as much as
vacation.
you're giving yourself, yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting that perspective thing. So I've got a place in Hackney, right? And it's above Dexter's, which is like a real estate firm. And they're open like, I think 7 days a week. And whenever I come home from a hard day of shoot and I walk past and they're in there, and I just think, fuck, actually my job is pretty fucking cool. I'm like, I could be in there,
Nice.
but I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm tired coming home from set.
But you're tired from doing something you love. Which,
Well, that's it.
you
That's
know,
the thing. It's
good.
something you love and it enriches you so deeply. And also maybe that's the another thing that you're talking about. Maybe that's also the danger of it, is that you receive so much from what you do that your life can become so one-sided. And that it's so important to understand what the other side of your life looks like. What are your hobbies? What are the things that make you happy beyond work? What enriches you beyond work? Who are you beyond being a cinematographer? Because you get lost in it, you know, like you're on a job for half a year. That's who you are, you know, that's who you become. You know, you don't even know how to order from a restaurant properly. You know, you forget how to, you know, you forget how to communicate in real life.
Oh yeah, choosing what to eat is that's a real novelty when you finish a long form.
It is, right?
I have to choose what I have for lunch. Oh,
You can do that?
Also, it like just helps for the periods of not working, you know. And right now that it's, you know, it's quite quiet in the UK, and if you've got those other things that mean you can, you know, just enjoy life, then it doesn't feel so bad that you're waiting for a job to come along.
yeah.
I
I think something I find quite interesting is what we do as DPs is like we're essentially making decisions constantly. That's what we're doing. We've got various departments below us, and we're decision making all the time. You know, what lens we're going to go with, how the camera's going to move, where it's going to be, how we're going to the visual design of a story, how we're going to do this with a director. Constant decision making, and I find that often in my private life outside of the film set, I'm terrible at decision making. It's like I've used all my decision making skills within my work.
I think
haven't
he's
got
good
any-
at decision making. He's a good friend of mine. He's the best decision maker that I know in my social circles. He's a good decision maker. Don't listen to him.
Lies, scandalous lies.
All right, let's jump to number 7. This one is Ninja This is where the names start to get aggressive. So this is Ninja Napalm from Pepper
Fucking hell.
Ninja.
That sounds chilled.
133 Scoville.
33,000.
133,000.
Yeah, there you
yes.
go. Don't forget the
Yeah,
1,000.
that
Plus 3
smells
zeros.
dangerous.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's that's a bit of a jump.
It does, yeah.
All right.
That's a bit of a jump.
Yeah. So, flipping back to working on set, do any of you have any traditions, routines, superstitions around coming in for the day or around a job in general? Anything that you do that you carry over from job to job that fits into that category?
Over to you, Kate.
I mean, I'm sure I do, but I can't. I mean, I'm just trying to. I mean, yeah, I'm sure I've got loads of superstitions.
I think for
Not
me, the
arriving
thing that
late.
I do every single day on a film set is just greet every single person on that set.
Each day?
Each day, every single person,
Every single person.
you look them in the eye and you greet them.
What time do you get in the morning?
A 3-hour pre-call. It's in my rider.
Every rigger.
It's paid
By the
for.
coffee cart.
Well, I mean, you know,
Yeah, yeah, no.
in
But
moderation.
that was
Yeah.
very spicy.
That
That
was.
was real.
Just in case anyone's wondering, that we're in a new
We've
chapter
entered the
now.
new chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. David, what about you?
What?
Superstitions, traditions, routines.
That one hits slow.
I try not to eat
Still
really
like-
spicy food the night before a shoot. Okay.
Or a flight.
Traditions. I mean, I'm big into coffee, so I love my little process of doing pour over coffee each morning. I love that little process of
Fuck me.
weighing out my beans and grinding it by hand and doing that. And I love doing that on set as well. That's like a little, it's a therapeutic. For me. In terms of superstitions, no, I don't think I have any superstitions.
Never walk under a ladder on set. That's something I never do.
Yeah.
Never walk under a ladder, but that's an obvious tradition, right? Superstition.
That was the first one I finished, and I regret that.
What about?
I just say it's nice. I don't. It's like, you know, if you arrive late to set, if you've had that where, you haven't arrived in time. If that is the most stressful. Like that.
What are we talking about again?
Superstition.
Oh, superstitions, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's nice. I'd always try and get to set like with quite enough time that I can just be on set, and before you get a barrage of questions, just be able to be in that space. And
do you pre-call with lighting, or are you
usually, well, I mean, often there's been a pre-call already, like as a previous day thing, which is lovely if you're on a big show and you've been able to light the space completely separate.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, but if there was a lighting pre-call on the day, then I would absolutely be there for it.
I arrive with catering.
What do you guys, when you're on set, no matter where you're at, what do you have in your pockets?
Oh, yeah.
What are you carrying in your pockets every day?
Alcohol.
If I've got a really stressful day, which obviously is a lot of them sometimes, but I've been known to put a post-it note next to the monitor if I've got a DIT tent that just says breathe.
Yes.
And that's genuinely can be a useful reminder just to not be reactive to what's coming in. That if there's always something, and just take a breath before you need to respond to people.
This is something I never, ever, ever not have in my pocket is lip balm. Hey? Dry lips, right?
The worst.
Come on, we adults, we don't have dry lips anymore, right?
It's in every bag I carry.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. What's your type?
This is not a plug, but Keslow Camera handed out these ones.
Ah, shameless.
I swear to God, they're the best lip balm ever.
Really?
Yeah, they're huge. I mean, like, not ridiculous, but like they're fat and thick, and like they just, it's got butter stuff
Sounds
in
good.
it. It's delicious.
Burt's Bees, baby, all the way.
It's a good one.
Yeah. He's got some Burt's Bees. David? He doesn't need lip balm.
What have you got? What's it got in its pocket?
Not hot wings.
Coffee.
Probably coffee grounds. Yeah.
No, I mean, I've nothing special, to be honest. I'm quite boring there. I'll always use my phone for framing and for sun tracking, notes, things like that. That's always with me. I still quite often like to use a light meter. I just kind of got used to that, and I really enjoy that.
I'll bring my light meter even if I haven't used it and I've got a DIT and all the other.
Has to be
ways.
there.
It's just that has to be in my bag even if.
It also looks cool for Instagram if you like.
So just to know it's there is a comfort. So that's a comfort blanket.
We should do a separate seminar on how to take a good Instagram.
Yeah. Fucking hell, this is odd.
Our mutual friend James
3
Hills
more.
gave me this one yesterday. It's the what tool have you decided to carry with you every time, which he refers to as the get out of shit kit, the thing that you will always carry because you'd never know if you're going to need it, but you know that it will save your ass if you need it.
Is this like in a shoot environment?
Yeah, and like a shooting environment, like something it's always on your list, even though you may not use it, but you want it there just in case.
Oh, a piece of kit?
Piece of kit.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Kate, after you.
Jamie.
For me, shameless plug, but I mean, Asteras now, for me.
You can name names. It's okay.
I don't leave my house without Asteras, even if I'm just going to the shops. I've got I've got a 2-footer in my back pocket. No, but honestly, like Asteras for me, you've shaped up a scene. You're going into master coverage, then all of a sudden your actor decides that actually this is his line of sight, and you got nothing getting into the eyes, and then just your wireless little soft bag 2-footer. It's always around you, and it just slips in behind you, and there it is. Fuck, this chili's hot.
Yeah, I know. Like fighting the hiccups.
But that's, I mean, for me,
Yeah.
it's actually my favorite, one of my favorite things of the last however many years. It's just always have a couple of kits, 2-footers, 4-footers, whatever. But they're everywhere.
David, what about you?
I would say probably a circular polarizer. That's just always
It's a good answer.
any job anywhere. You never know when that's going to get you out.
I got a
of
good
jail.
story about a circular polarizer.
That's really go on, please.
Is there time for this story?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Is it a your length or David length story?
No, it's my length.
Okay.
I'll summarize it. Where's the Oscars music? Get it ready.
You're just delaying number 8, aren't you?
Exactly.
We're going to get to it.
Okay, so I did this film, Goodrich, right? And it's with Michael Keaton, okay? And before the shoot, I get a message from production. Jamie, Michael's desperate to talk to you. I was like, all right, fuck, whenever. He can call me. Here's my number. And then this message happened every week. Jamie, Michael, he needs to call. I'm like, guys, do you want me to call him? I'm happy to call him. No, he's going to call you. Anyway, a week before, he calls me. And he gets on the phone. And
Week before production.
Week before principal photography. And I was at gym, and I get a call, and I'm like, I fucking bet you this is Michael right now. The worst possible moment. Anyway, I answer the phone, and he's like, I was like, hello? He's like, hi, is this Jamie? I was like, yeah, it's Jamie here. Ah, Jamie, this is Michael Keaton. So excited to work with you, man. Loved your last movie, Living. It's great. But listen, Jamie, this movie, it's not living, okay? I was like, okay, cool. He's like, Jamie, I just finished Dope Sick, and I fucking hated the way I looked in Dope Sick. I was like, no shit, you were a drug addict. he's like, I hated the way I looked. And Jamie, this movie, I've got to look great, okay? All the time. I have to look great. I was like, okay, all right, well, there's an ebb and flow in your character arc, like you start out high and you drop and then you get back. Jamie, I don't want to hear any of that. I need to look great. And he says to me verbatim, he says, you have to light me like Cindy Crawford in the 90s. And I was like, this is 100% locations-based shoot. His house is mid-century modern, okay? LA glass cubicle, okay? And he wants 7/8 beauty lighting 100% of the time, right? The only thing that got me out of jail with this guy was a fucking circular polarizer. I lit him like a car.
Yeah.
and then dialed out the highlights with the circular polarizer. So God bless the circular polarizer. You win.
That was good. Kate, is there anything in your kit that...
I know, I was trying to think, Buz's been distracted by the awesome story. I mean, lately the DMG dot, with a little dome. Do you know
Not familiar.
It's a type. Well, DMG make this little.
DMG, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the dash, and then you put the dome on it.
Yes.
And a
little battery-powered light.
Exactly. You can run in with it and just get a really, really nice sort of eye light that doesn't, scream eye light.
Yeah.
And I mean, a bit like using a 2-foot steerer. It's just different tool doing the same thing. And that's just a really handy one because it can just, you get someone with a little hole on it, and it can be, angled in and tracking around if the actor's moving around, that you can just get enough light in an eye. So I'd say that's usually on my list. But I've got a lot of consistent go-tos. Like I loved, unbleached muslin is always in there. There's no interesting story that goes with unbleached muslin.
Yeah,
I bet there is, if you think about it.
I think another thing as well I always carry is set diopters. Every job, anywhere. Just because we've all been in that situation when you're on anamorphics per se, and it's like, can we just go a bit closer? And you're like, no.
Yeah.
But why?
What do you mean? Can we just dolly in? No. No, we can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not possible. And of course, that's not great. I think you only put yourself in that situation once.
Yeah. Directors don't like the word no.
No, that's not good. What do you mean you can't focus? Well, why did you choose 60-year-old lenses? Well,
where do I start?
Well, yeah.
I heard a story about you on a job where there was a sunset shot, and a cine saddle allowed you to get a pretty high number of shots, and maybe it was in Malta. It was what I was told was 15 shots in 15 minutes before sundown.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Not a great memory. But we got it done. No, that was a situation where you don't always have your #1 team. You don't always have great local crew. And yeah, I found myself in a situation where I was with a particular crew member who was problematic. I'm being very politically safe here, but very not the best grip. Not the best grip I'd ever worked with. And whatever we set up, nothing would be leveled. The head would never be balanced. Like it was just not working. Directors getting quite spicy, pun intended. And we had a lot to shoot, and it was just like, you know what, we're going to have to do this whole sequence on a cine saddle handheld because we're going to get one shot leveled on a head or a slide, or one slider shot, or 15 if we just run around with the cine saddle. So yeah, it's just times where you just have to grab the camera and go. You know, I think we've all been there.
Usually the last 15 minutes of every day.
Yeah, when everyone's running around, twisting their ankles, and yeah, that time. Sunsets, the sun doesn't do overtime.
What is it? It's Ben-Hur in the morning, EastEnders at night.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we've put it off long enough.
Oh.
It's time for number 8.
I think I need some more milk.
The bomb. Anybody else need a
milk.
refill before we
In
start this?
anticipation.
Oh, shit, you smashed. What's happening with your beer here, Kate?
Not bad.
We need another one here for Kate.
David, how many have you had? Your beers?
I'm
your
good for
first
now.
one?
That's my second one.
Is it? Where's your other bottle?
It's been taken.
Oh.
Better service over here.
Interesting.
Keeping my workstation neat.
Apparently 8 is really bad. That's what we've been told.
Well, yeah, it is. It's kind of everything after that. It's hot,
You don't remember it.
but yeah, it doesn't hurt quite as much.
All right.
Yeah, the first time I ever had Da Bomb was at the Mexican restaurant here in Tarun.
Okay.
At my first Camerimage in this city, and for some reason they had it in the basket on the table, and I put a little bit on my burrito for the first bite, and it ruined the entire meal. And I sat there with 10 people trying not to
Psych
show.
us out here.
Oh yeah, we should just.
That's a pretty bold table sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a prank.
Let's go.
All right, here we go.
Ooh.
How much do I have to eat?
All of this one.
Yeah. All right.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh, this is a slow one.
All right, so for this wing, we're going to do a little segment. It's a recurring segment we like to do on this seminar called Explain That Graham. We do a deep dive on our guests' Instagrams and pull photos that need a little bit more explanation or context. So, who's ready to tell a story?
Kate.
David, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Hold on, let me cue it up.
Woof.
That was disgusting.
It really is.
Yeah, the others tasted nice. That one just tasted of pain.
Yeah, do you remember my description last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the chemicals from under the kitchen sink set on fire, then eat it.
Yeah, that is.
That was accurate.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, hell of a thing
We
that.
do have some more of this left over if anybody wants to try it later. You're welcome to come by the stand.
It's
I'm
getting
serious.
so much worse. I think I might answer my question.
David, you have a monitor on your side over there. So this, what's the story? What's the story behind this one?
Yeah. This one caused some controversy. It was completely safe. but it doesn't look it. It was completely safe.
Me.
We were shooting on location in Hainan Island, and oh Jesus.
Oh,
Watch the eyes. Watch the eyes.
Yeah. We're shooting on location in Hainan Island, and yeah, just that's where we needed the light to be. And you know, it's like, should we get a crane army and get a machine? Should we do it? It's like my gaffer's like, no, we'll just put the light in the water. And it's like, oh, we'll just put the light in the water. It's like, yeah,
It was the gaffer's idea.
yeah.
There you go.
It's like, okay. And yeah, it was great. It worked out. But I thought it was a funny photo. And grabbed it at the time. God, oh, this is a lot.
So here's another one. What's going on in this photo?
Oh yeah, that was a commercial I did in Bulgaria, in New Bojana Studios, where a group of zombies chase a guy off a rooftop. He jumps off this rooftop to his suicide. You realize he's a stunt man, lands, and it's this big one-shot sequence. That just tasted of regret. Okay. Yeah. And you can't resist a BTS moment like that, really. It's fun.
And then we have one last one from you, which this may describe how you're feeling right now.
Yeah. So that is, that's in the southern Gobi Desert, the northern border of China. In a place called Yadan National Park.
Thank you.
There
you go.
And yeah, that's me in an hour, I think. This rate. I started doing this series of rap photos being dead, and I've got a series of them from all over the world, of me.
That's very interesting.
Dead on set, and
that's more.
Done.
Jamie, we're going to go to you next.
Kate's looking primed to answer.
She's the most composed, I think, of everybody.
This is what you said last night.
Yeah. So, Jamie.
Yes.
This one is another an apropos of the moment kind of photo.
Just another day at work. You want me to explain this?
Yeah, well, tell a little bit about the background.
Okay, so this happened last year on this movie, William Tell, and the director, it was a multiple camera shoot. I had a number of operators, but the director heard from some or other source that I did pretty good handheld, right? So early on in production, fuck me. Early on in production, he got me to do a couple of handheld shots. He really liked it. So what would always happen was whenever there was a handheld sequence that he wanted something done with, he put me on. And it just so happened that he chose me to be next to a blazing inferno on this. And this was close to the close of principal photography. So if whoever's done a film here, in the last week you've probably got 10% of tolerance left for all of that. But this was a pretty cool moment on a job that was actually pretty cool. Started out pretty rough, working out the dynamics with the director. A lot of to and fro of opinion and stuff, but it settled and it turned out to actually be a cool journey. I have good memories from this film. Shot up in half of it we shot in the Dolomites in Italy, and it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. And to be able to lens it and tell a story in that environment. So often we go to beautiful places on holiday and we're like, how cool would it be to shoot a film here, right? But there's no service there, there's no support, so you'll never shoot there. Some of the places that we shot this movie had never been photographed for screen. So I felt pretty lucky, so.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
And there's this one.
Oh yeah. Bill Nye. First of all, let me just say Bill Nye is the antithesis of what this industry should be. He is gracious, he's a gentleman, he's warm, he's giving, he's brilliant, he shows up every day. He's not young anymore, but he shows up and he's just present all the time. And he knows everybody, looks everybody in the eye, gives everybody the time of day. And, I have a cool relationship with him now, but, just learning from him and just, an actor, here's the thing about actors, right? Everybody, people have opinions about actors and whatever, but at the end of the day, everything we're doing lands on them, right? And the lens is on them. And all of this money, all of this focus, all of this chaos, it's on their backs at the end of the day. and you understand the pressure of being an actor, and you understand why there's a personality that comes along with it. And Bill Nye is just one of the most beautiful people I've ever known, and he's such a great leader, and he's such a great mentor, and the way he is sets a tone for everybody. But technically, this is quite a cool picture too, because this was some cool problem solving. So in this scene, the train arrives at the station, and he's waiting there, for the train. But we had a carriage, we couldn't move the carriage. So I pitched this idea to build his platform on skates and bring the platform in. When I suggested this idea, everyone was like, "What? Why would you do that?" I was like, "No, just trust me. Just try." They're like, "Well, I don't know if Bill would be into this." I was like, "Well, ask him." Bill was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's roll in." So that's what we did. We built a platform, camera inside the static train, rolled the platform in, and then, he left. That was pretty cool, right?
Nice.
Yeah, good fun.
And we got one last one for you here.
Oh, yeah. This is a commercial I did in South Africa a while ago with a really cool commercials director named Greg Gray. I don't know if anybody's shot in South Africa, but he's a super cool commercials director out there. And yeah, it was actually ironically for Chicken Licken. And Chicken Licken, let me tell you guys, Chicken Licken, and I have to admit, I fucking love hot wings. I really do. And Chicken Licken in South Africa make a thing called a hot wings deal, okay? And it's 10 hot wings, and you get a Coca-Cola with it. And it's perfect for hangovers. So it's like a hangover cure. So this is, if you're in South Africa and maybe you go out once or twice a week, a hot wing meal is a good thing to have the other day. So this is for Chicken Licken. So that's actually quite a cool pic to show.
Maybe we should have done this later in the week. We're all a little bit more worse for wear.
Well, no, don't worry. We worse for wear today. We're fine.
Kate, I want to go to you now. Let's see. This was the first photo from yours.
I'm smiling.
A bit of joy there, yeah.
Yeah, smiling, but that was the world's heaviest. So it was an underwater scene where I follow the actor into the water, and so the camera's in, these old housings that are ridiculous. It's like a tank.
So you started on land.
Exactly, yeah. So at that point, you don't have any of the benefit of the buoyancy of the water, just a crushing weight. But also because it was a short film, and you do shorts, and it's all begged and borrowed, and it's like the worst kit that is available just the weekend that you're doing it. And so the monitor didn't really work. So it was kind of, you could just outline the actor, because of the sun and the glare, and then when it got wet. So it felt like you were just shooting blind and just hoping that you kind of, just old school, just like this should work.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you should be in the middle of the frame.
Do you remember the focal length? Did you have some latitude for framing, or was it a little tighter?
85 mil.
No, it wasn't. I think
T2.
I think it started on a 25 for that shot, and then later we were on a 50. But it was, it was. But then obviously where we were filming, because it was a short, so there's no contingency, and it'd been quite choppy waters that day in this bay, and so it wasn't this kind of tranquil sea that would have been ideal. And so then with that, and then the water, and I remember just ducking under and feeling everyone being like, ah! It's all kind of like your grip, the safety person just diving in. But, it's just sinking under the weight of this.
Don't you love when the alarm starts to go off in the underwater housing?
This didn't have an alarm. This is that basic.
It didn't have an alarm? That's probably better.
Yeah, anyway, so.
Nice.
Smiling but crying.
Never ignore those alarms.
No.
I speak from experience.
So this is quite a nice shot.
Well, this was just taken out. I was going a little trip in Cambodia, and so it was out of the bus window, and it was like January.
Holiday or work trip?
Holiday, and so I was like, woohoo, flying into the new year, and this was, going into January 2020. Little did we know what was about to happen.
Oh, the optimism and
exactly. So that was that photo, which I now look back on and just think COVID.
The good old days.
Good old days.
And then I love this photo.
Oh, this is genuinely the coolest thing that I can take no credit for. So I was working on a television series called The Baby, and my second AC had the genius idea to take everyone's photo and babyfy it, and then make it as the filter tab.
That's fucking cool.
So I absolutely adored that every time I put my eye to the eyepiece, I could see like 3 of the team, you know, like Polar, ND6, whatever, you know, just down the side
Love
of
that.
the matte box. Yeah, I know, we've never looked better.
That's great. All right, we're going to move on to number 9.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. This is the...
I'm also really full. It's just
Yeah.
a lot.
I mean, we're not judging bite size.
I know, it's going to...
Or are we, maybe?
Just got to eat the skin, basically.
Yeah.
Look how much I ate of that. That was
was-
a mistake.
That was a healthy bite.
Was that the last one?
Yes.
was-
Yeah.
So this one is the Arbol
Mistakes you've made in
Scorpion.
your career.
So the last one was 135,000 Scoville. This is 820,000
Oh my
Scoville.
Fuck me.
A little jump.
So you say... Okay.
There we go.
All right.
It tastes better.
Yeah.
That might be all I can say.
Yeah, that's very hot.
Oh, fuck me.
So I think we would be remiss if we didn't discuss food while we're sitting up here with these plates of food in front of us. And craft services is often a very necessary evil at times, but it's the lifeblood of a set, right? Without it, nobody would have the energy to do any of the crazy things that you guys do. So I wanted to talk about craft services a little bit. What's the best food that you can hope for in craft services, and maybe where you got it from, and what's the thing that when you see it, you're like, absolutely not, never touching that? Kate, you want to start?
I feel it's not so much that there's one thing that's done well or badly. It's more that on day one, you know what budget you're on by the level of craft. You know, that's the indication that you're like, you know, there's certain like brands of, you know, caterers, and you're like that'll be like the note that goes round. Like, oh God, thank God it's these guys, and then, you know that the producers are spent, and everyone's going to be happy, and you might come out a stone heavier at the other end of the job.
Jamie, is there anything that you are happy to see on a craft service line?
Well, I'll tell you this. In Italy, I realized that breakfast wasn't really a big thing for Italians. So in our first week, our breakfast was like pastries with like custard on and shit. And I mean, you know, starting a day with a coffee and a custard pastry is probably not a good idea. So I called up production. Holy shit, this is actually a hot one, hey? Yeah.
It's building a little.
This is building, right?
Yeah.
So I sent a mail to production. I said, look, I'm happy to do this. Oh, fuck. But perhaps we need some eggs and bacon in the morning, you know, maybe. Might be a good idea, at least for some of us, you know what I mean? Yeah. Some people might be happy with this. Anyway. Also, I will say this. I grew up in South Africa. Formative part of my career, I shot a lot in Africa. So I've had some pretty intense cuisine in Africa, you know, particularly Nigeria. Cuisine I had in Nigeria was pretty wild. But I have to say, the thing about it was that they're very patriotic, you know. So when I arrived, they're like, you must come over to my family's place for dinner. We're going to cook for you. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. But then you have to eat what's given to you, of course, you know?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll tell you. I don't have a palate for Nigerian food, but I respect it, and they love it. They fucking love their food, and it's, you know, I just no.
What was like one or two things that were on the plate that?
So the one thing that really got me was boiled cow skin. Yeah, so the actual skin, you know, the hide.
Stuff you make jackets out of.
Exactly, you know, like a leather jacket and shoes. Well, I had boiled cow skin for dinner. So basically, they boil it for like 48 hours, and then the fat separates, but then they keep the fat on top of it, you know, delicious stuff, you know. Anyway, that was great. And they have this thing called suya, which is comparable to this. It's like bush meat, so like monkey and shit like that. And then it's like street food, you know, but it's got like crazy pepper on it, chili. And I was driving with the guys in the car, and I was like, I mentioned that I was a little bit hungry. They're like, okay, no, we're going to stop for something. I'm like, all right. They stopped and bought some street food. Got back in the car. They're like, here, have this. I was like, cool. And I ate one of them, and it was as hot as this that I just ate now, but there wasn't one drop of water in the car. And I did the third mainland bridge in Nigeria, which, if anyone's ever been there, it's like 500 meters of bridge, but it's like 3 hours of traffic. And I got stuck on third mainland bridge after eating a piece of suya with no fucking drinks in the car. I was like, thank you. This is one of those moments.
David, does anything stand out to you?
I've got two tales. One, I was shooting a car commercial in China, and we had this delicious stir fry of chicken wings. So chicken wings with Szechuan spices. It was very spicy, but a nice level. And I'm eating this stir fry, and it's like, what is this? It's like, they say it's chicken wings. It's like, great, it's really delicious, really nice. I was like, these are tiny chickens. These are really, really small, these chicken wings. And
not like these ones, right?
And they're like, not like these ones, yeah. Someone comes over, and they're like, oh, yeah, they're frog legs. They're frog legs. It's like, oh, okay. Well, frog legs are delicious, I now know. So that was one. The other one was I was doing a commercial in Saudi, in northwestern Saudi, in an area called Neom. And you might as well be shooting on Mars, really. You're in a completely desolate environment. You're based out of these little camps, and you go off into the desert. And our first lunch was on the Tech Scout day. We're in this canyon called Wadi Tayyib, which is where supposedly Moses parted the Red Sea in history, and that's where this allegedly happened. And we stop for lunch, and we go to the tables for food, and there's just like 60 cases. You're right there, mate.
Yeah, okay.
There's like 60 boxes of cakes. That's it. And it's like, oh, where's lunch? It's like, oh, this is lunch.
Yeah.
Delicious cakes.
Sugar, yeah.
There's 3 types of cake. It's
Not
like,
like
oh,
savory cakes, sweet cakes.
sweet cakes, like covered in honey and like
Carbs and sugar, baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we spoke to the service producer, and we were like, what's going on here? Like, from the service company, they're based out of Riyadh. He's like, oh, I thought everyone would love cake. I love cakes. I thought everyone would love cakes.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a treat. When you're in the middle of the desert, I mean, there's nothing else to eat. You eat cakes.
Yeah. Let them eat cake.
Yeah.
Do you know it's always a red flag for me?
Yeah.
Is an AD that doesn't need to sleep a lot and doesn't get hungry.
Oh, yeah.
That's always a red flag, right? I'm good on 6 hours. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. No, I didn't really get hungry. I'm like, oh, okay.
When they say, oh, let's push the lunch till 2.
Yeah. You're like, okay. Are you on a keto diet? What's going on?
I do. So that, you know, in terms of what you have in your bag, I always have snacks. Sorry, that was the obvious thing that I like.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I always have my own
Snacks.
snacks in case, you know, you're that situation where you're starving and, you know,
I got my boy sitting up there, James, who was my trainee on this movie that I just did, and he was my chief of snacks on my film. And you did very well, my friend. I tell you that, you did very well. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't have a sneaky little bit of biltong or a Huel or something that arrived in my monitor. Sometimes a bit later, I might say. But there's always room for improvement.
All right.
That's a really serious note, just to
Yeah.
shout out to all the trainees that are doing amazing, you know, that keep you in tea and happiness.
Yeah,
and,
happiness.
You know,
Yeah.
David, would you let a
Yeah,
trainee
it's
make
serious.
coffee for you?
Once.
Never again.
Sure, for sure.
All right, let's
Okay.
do it. Number 10.
Really? Okay, shit.
After this,
we're done.
it only gets better.
Okay.
Last app. Oh, right. So thank you. It's tradition around here to put a little extra on the last one. You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, we do. Let's go.
You're not really giving
the
us a
cake.
choice here, right?
Well, I mean, I kind of know you guys well enough.
Which one are you putting on? Which
I'm not doing it myself.
What's that?
Which sauce?
I'll do it for him.
Like
Give me the last
suicide.
one. So the hottest one.
But it's not number 8.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Hey.
You can brush it up. You can brush it up.
Okay.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, that was sweet. Thank you.
That's the one.
There you go. That's good.
That's great. That seems
You got more
a lot.
than me.
Do you want to swap?
Oh, there we go. All right. All right.
All right, friends.
Here's everyone.
Time.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this. And probably never doing it again. Yeah. Boy, that one hits right away.
Oh, fuck me.
Oh,
Yeah. This one is 2.6 million Scoville,
Oh, fuck me.
up from 820,000 on
So
the
they might
last
want a
one.
close-up of what
Yeah.
was put on it.
Yeah. There you go.
yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So I thought as we wrap things up here, maybe we have a little fun and we play a game. So I'm going to suggest that we play the alphabet game with movie titles, where we're going to go around, starting with A, B, C, D.
God.
Everyone has to name a movie title that starts with that letter.
Okay.
If it starts with the, it is a T. If it starts with A something, it is an A. We'll see how we
Thanks
do.
for that explanation, Seth.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, bud.
If anyone's not familiar with the alphabet,
Yeah.
A through Z is generally how we go.
All right.
All right.
My brain has just left the building.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a great one to end the thing with.
And if you miss one or you can't come up with one, you're out. So we'll go until there's one left, or yeah, dude, I'm not going to punish them with the bomb if we don't get it. All right. Kate, are you willing to start us off with an A?
Yeah, was there a film called The American?
Oh, well, that would be a
V.
T. That
No,
would
but
be
you said that the doesn't count.
no, it does count.
Oh, right.
Come on, keep up,
See,
Kate.
Jamie, that's why I said it.
Good oral skills.
Ah.
I really can't think of anything right now.
I'll give you a second. It's the first round.
Amelie.
Amelie, okay. E.
Borat.
We're at
I like.
Children of Men.
Oof.
Dogtown.
Elephant.
Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Godfather 2.
Happy Gilmore.
I can't help you here, Kate.
Sorry. Ice Age.
Yeah, nice.
Juno.
Koyanis Kwatsi.
Nice. Lost in L.A. Wait, is that a film? No. Land of the Lost. There we go.
Moneyball.
Oh, fuck me. N.
Yeah,
Oh, No Country for Old Men,
there
obviously.
you go.
Obviously. Roger Deakins. Oh, shit, that's slow, huh?
It's very spicy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did you eat much of yours? You don't seem like you're suffering much.
that's a healthy bite.
That's like right
It's-
in the corner.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Oh,
Octopussy.
all right, yeah.
It's out there.
Pinocchio.
Quadrophenia.
Ooh.
R.
Yeah.
Come on.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Huh?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, what she said.
Suspira.
Okay. Tin Cup.
Up.
Up. Nice.
Venice.
Where the Wild Things Are.
X-Men.
Yellow Submarine, does it count? The Beatles?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Zorba the Greek.
Oh, very good. And the impression.
Thank you.
All right. We made it
bilingual.
around. We're out of time.
Thank God.
I think we can end it there.
Oh, thank you.